Weekend Rental. We are your gaming and geek culture podcast. This is episode 115. As always, my name is Ryan, and I'm joined by Andy.
Hey.
And Biff.
Hello?
He's back.
You said episode 115 with question mark. You're like
I was not sure when I was saying it. Is that correct? Or is it 115? Is that right?
Sounds good to me.
It's in the ballpark.
After 100, do we need a count? It's a new episode.
It's a new episode. I thought it was a thing that we're just going to respond to everything with a question.
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, welcome. So as always, if you enjoy our train wreck of a podcast, go listen to some of the stuff over at geekade.com. People actually try over there, whether you want podcasts on video games, music, movies, much more, comics. You can find it all over there at geekade.com. What's your geek? 3-piece again. That's good. You get your voice back, Biff?
I do.
Yeah.
I have a voice back.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's my voice, but I have a voice back.
They always say, gotta protect those vocal cords. Gargle after you've gargled.
I will gargle a ton.
Yeah. I'm just, God, this is a train wreck. I'm just going to jump right into it. We have I want to talk about something. Halo Infinite, that came out, the campaign at least, from the time that we recorded last. That's a game that came out. I will be honest, I'm a huge Halo fan, a huge Halo supporter. I fell off kind of right around when 4.3 or 3.4.3 started taking over. 4 I thought was fine. 5 I heard nothing great about, and I didn't really jump into it. In fact, that's the only one I've not played. I found myself weirdly excited. It was like the second coming of Halo. I felt like Halo Infinite appeared to capture what made the first game great, possibly the second game. So I downloaded this. Anybody else install the campaign? Just me?
I installed it, but I still haven't jumped into the campaign quite yet.
I got you to install it so we could play multiplayer, which we did
multiplayer, and this was my first Halo experience ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I like your reaction. You're like, so this is like pretty much it. This is why people like Halo. I'm like, some, yes.
I got wrecked. I mean,
we both did. I had a couple okay games, but yeah, those last like 4, we just got steamrolled.
And then I was blown away that people could use vehicles in one level. I was like, this thing keeps on shooting at me. And then Ryan's like, oh, you can actually get in those vehicles. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah. We only got put into like really small maps with like no major vehicles. Yeah, it'd be cool to get back in, but
there's some really good people that have been playing Halo since it came out like crazy.
Yeah.
So
Andy, you dabbled?
I've installed, but I haven't started it.
Okay.
I haven't done multiplayer or campaign yet, but
I held off and I installed all of it on the launch of the campaign day. I didn't get into multiplayer before then. Downloaded it through Game Pass on PC. I have a pretty good PC. I don't have like a top of the line PC, but more than adequate. And I started noticing like that campaign is rough, like not optimized well for PC. So I started like thinking like, did I not do something right? So I'm like updating BIOS. And then if your PC is an NVIDIA one like mine, they got like this GeForce Experience thing where they like very neatly packaged driver sets for like top tier games. So it's all just kind of like there, you plug and play, pick your settings, very intuitive. That wasn't really working either. So I took to the internet and found out that like, yeah, it's kind of not great on PC at the moment. Certainly more than playable. But it's weird because the online doesn't seem to struggle, but the campaign has a lot of screen tearing, like a lot in the cinematics, which I don't know. I mean, the story in Halo games tends to not make a lot of sense, and this one's no exception. So I don't know if you're missing too much, but it's kind of jarring. And in fact, I had a scene where the pilot character you kind of like play off of as Master Chief, like he looked like he was getting like scabies or something, and like starting from his hairline down, it just started pixelating like rainbow pixels. So as the cutscene played out over the next 2 minutes, his face just enveloped in like this weird rainbow of colors, like finally like encapsulating his nose and the rest of it. So that was weird. But in the game itself, it tends to run pretty well. But even like with larger areas, the screen tearing doesn't go away, and it certainly drops frames on occasion. Which it's not enough to like tear you away from the experience when you're in the heat of it. But when you're kind of like, wow, just look at this thing, like it kind of sucks. So I don't know. I want to say I've gotten 6 hours probably into that campaign. And I was kind of disappointed with the performance of that. I'm going to probably hold off at this point. It's good though. Like, man, does that feel really good? And do they update some stuff as far as the controls go that makes sense? Once you get to that open world, which takes a while, sadly, and I air quote open world because it's pretty linear. It's open world in the sense that Gears 5 is open world, which isn't a bad thing. But man, it really plays like Halo. Like the grunts say a lot of hilarious stuff, and it feels super smooth, and I love it. I'd say my only real.
So you're back on the train now.
I mean, it captures what I loved about the first game. Like those outside areas feel like the first game. The biggest problem I have is that they've introduced boss battles, and not that like there weren't quote unquote bosses in other Halo games, but like they have you doing bounties and like high priority targets where you end up in these very confined rooms with limited options and a very overpowered like enemy to fight. And it sort of strips away all your options, which is the opposite of what makes Halo good. Like the best parts of Halo is you've got a million ways that this could go fucking bonkers crazy. And it's up to you to figure out how to like find the fun and the strategy in that. And what they do is they strip that all the way and they're like, nope, you're in a little confined spot. Good luck. And it sucks. And you die repeatedly on these things. And I find myself just getting to the point where I'm like, well, okay, well, how can I exploit this? Where can I find the ledge that I can get to like just end this, because I've died 50 times and I don't want to try doing this the way the game wants me to do it. And that's not good. And that's not what makes Halo good.
Are the bosses like you need to do special things to get to them, or is it they just bullet sponges to like,
right?
That's what I don't like about Destiny is like,
yes,
Destiny. It's just like you sit there and die and come back and bosses are just like, you just have to shoot them a million times instead of 10.
It is very in the vein of Destiny. And that's exactly what my response was to my boss, who's also been playing this since it came out. And I was like, if I wanted this, I would play Destiny. That's not why I go to Halo. And it's not as bad as that, but it is like a super powered elite or a super powered brute with like unbelievable, like armor, invisibility, grenades, like gravity hammers and plasma swords. And then you've got nowhere to go. So it's just, I don't know. It's manageable, but it's not fun. It sucks. It's the worst part of the experience. And even with that, I can still say I think it's a great game. So what happened, at least so what we played so far. So there's no 2-player co-op.
Which is a bummer.
Which is the first Halo game to do that. They said it's not going to happen until May. I'm going to bet that this, even when they get 2-player co-op in, because it's an quote unquote open world game, I'm betting you can't do it on the same console. I'm guessing there's no couch co-op, which is going to piss me off. So my son started taking interest in it. And what we decided, I was like, why are we passing the controller back and forth? Like, I was already annoyed that it wasn't optimized great. I wasn't loving the boss stuff. I was like, let's just go back. Like, let's go back to the Master Chief Collection and just start going through. And yeah, that's what we did. I downloaded it, updated it. So me and him Saturday about noon on, that's what we did. We fired up the campaign. We played right through Combat Evolved, and it was awesome. And
wow.
We're going to move on to Halo 2, I don't know, hopefully this weekend. I think we were both pretty burnt out. We had a problem with my Xbox. I don't know if it's because somebody logged into my profile or it just overheated because it's been running for like 7 hours, but it crapped out during the final section, and I had to like reboot like 6 times, and the son of a bitch would not come back to life. I was like, oh man, did I just toast my Xbox One? And it did finally boot back in, but I couldn't get the audio back. It was really weird. So yeah, that added like an extra hour to beating it, but yeah, it was good. I'm back in the Halo groove. Infinite's really cool. I wish it ran better on PC. I think it's kind of a bummer that it doesn't, but I guess given the struggles that things had to even get out.
Well, yeah, PC I'm sure wasn't the top priority.
Right. Oh, there's a big multiplayer base on there. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. I've heard on the X it runs pretty well. I haven't installed it on my one, but maybe I'll have to do that.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying it. You know, I haven't jumped in the campaign. I watched a couple of the cinematics at the beginning, and I have no Halo experience again. So I'm like,
it doesn't matter.
I don't really understand what's going on.
Master Chief kicks ass because he can, and then the rest is irrelevant. Yeah.
And I was like, this guy's just floating in space.
I know a lot of it, and it doesn't even make sense to me.
And then all of a sudden, this Master Chief turns on. But is a Master Chief a person, or is it a robot?
Yes. So the type of Master Chief or Spartan that John, the Master Chief, is like a genetically augmented person who was abducted from childhood and has been like, they don't make Spartans like him anymore because they stopped like abusing children. But yes, he is technically a human that is like.
That sounds like my life story.
He's super. Yeah. He's been like super manipulated though. He's like 3 meters tall. So he's like over 7 feet tall. So not a normal person anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to jump into it a little bit. I wish there was a co-op campaign. Yeah. I think it's just one of those things that I think my son and I are trying to find some stuff to play together outside of Fortnite. And
well, luckily there's that Master Chief collection, so you can just dive right in.
I have the Master Chief collection, just haven't jumped into it.
I hadn't booted it up in so long, I didn't realize they added ODST and Reach. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's all in there now, right?
Yeah, everything up to 4.
Yeah. Well, you have to go through Halo Wars, too, because there's important story bits in that.
You don't. Nope. Watch a wiki. Read a wiki. Halo Wars is not that great.
Are they supposed to all tie in together?
Yeah, but then there's also novels that you need to read in between the games to really fill it in. Yeah.
That's nice.
I read the first book way back when, but I stopped.
You actually read that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I was desperate for more Halo, and this was like after Halo came out, there was no more Halo. So I read the book, and then more Halo games started coming out. It's a good book. The first one, I haven't read, there's like 20 of them now. I don't know.
Well, to watch the show pretty soon, right?
Yeah, Ryder was excited. My son was excited when he saw that.
Yeah, I think it's a strange time. I was at Target today. Worst place ever, by the way. Especially during this time.
But
yeah, but just any store is awful this time. Where I was doing some Christmas shopping and just kind of walking through the toys, seeing what's interesting, and it's amazing like how many reboots are out there as far as toys go. Things that we were growing up with, but it's just amazing how fast this stuff comes out because there was a ton of Halo figurines, and it's like, did they just hold these in a whole bunch of boxes and they're like, all right, now we got to put these back out? It's just, yeah, it's amazing how fast this stuff comes out.
I was going to say, I feel like Halo stuff has been available pretty much like consistently the last 10 years.
At least like the Mega Blocks or whatever.
And then Walmart has like the like straight from Mexico toy line where you can get like 6 of them in a box for like $3.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like really cheap toys.
Maybe I'm just more in tune to it now where I'm like, oh, there's probably never even looked at it.
Well, and there's for sure more on the shelves right now. I'm assuming with Infinite. Yeah. That and Christmas. Yeah. That's what my kids got me for my birthday, which happened to be last week. They bought you guys seen that? They might listen to this, so I'm not going to say what I was going to say, but you seen that Halo like Master Chief that like holds your controller? It's like a controller charging stand.
No,
it's like a figure.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not gonna reach over and show you, but that's what I got for my birthday. So
Nice.
That's cool.
that's exciting. It's still in the box.
Nice. What's the story of your life?
I have nowhere to put it. My
I have
camera is
this.
still in shambles.
It's in the box.
I got scolded by my wife again today because she's like, "What? Those games are still on the floor. When did you take those games down with Nate? When did you do that? That was like July?" I'm like, I feel like it was after. No, it was like July. I'm okay. I'm not gonna argue.
This
with
is
you.
what you say. You say, woman, you shut your mouth, or I'll shut it for you.
I like to live.
Yeah, I was just joking. I would never say that. That's dangerous. That's scary.
Yes.
So on my shopping adventure, I also ventured through the lovely place of Best Buy. I like Best Buy. That is a place I just kind of like roaming around, checking.
It's my favorite appliance store.
It is an appliance store. Now they are a Lovesac dealer, so that's a thing.
Saw that too. Very excited.
Yeah, it's just, and they have Traeger grills in there, and
Also
it's just
odd,
like,
but yes.
what is happening to Best Buy?
They don't know what's happening.
It is sounding more bargainy than
No, they're Sears is what they are. They don't realize it yet.
Right, exactly.
Once I start seeing
clothes
like
are going to show up.
Yeah, I was gonna say Pacific Ocean gear in there. I'm gonna be like, oh shit.
Oh my gosh, Pacific Ocean. That's great. But I did put my hands on a Simpsons one-up cab.
Oh,
They had a
didn't
few
buy
in
it?
there. No, $700. I was like,
What?
oh, yeah, I wasn't interested.
700.
$699, and I
Holy
just
cow.
Fuck that.
I put my hand on it, and my
You can
wife
get the
was
actual
like,
cab.
"That would be sweet." She's like, "Are you getting it?" I was like, "No, I can't. I'm not going to spend $600,
That's at
$700
least
on that."
$300 too much.
But it comes
a
with a
minimum.
stool. It comes
Oh,
with a
good.
stool. Yeah.
For 700, it should come with a fleshlight.
Yeah, I mean, it's depressing, and their prices haven't come down. They still got NBA Jam for $499. I'm pretty sure they still have like a Galaga cab in there for full price. So it was
Not
cool to
good.
see, but sad that it wasn't cheaper, where I just load it right up.
That's probably my fault, because last year when we got my cocktail, it was some glitch in their system, so it was like $100 with free shipping on their website.
Oh my gosh.
That's how I got mine, and I thought for sure they'd cancel it, but no,
Right.
it showed up.
Nice.
Yeah, that would have been I would have taken that deal on this cab, but I saw some Series S in there, so they had a big shipment of those. So that was kind of cool. And still no PS5s. Those are MIA, but
Still nothing to play on those, though. At
no,
least with an Xbox, you get Game Pass. What are you getting with a PS5? Nothing.
nothing. There was a guy, I saw it on actually Facebook Marketplace, where he was selling his, I think it was a PS5. He's like, bought it on launch, was really excited about it. And in his description was like, there weren't any games to play. So he was selling it. Like, that's still the case today.
Yeah. I'm also waiting for the redesign for a console that doesn't look stupid as shit. It's kind of what my goal is, but
Well, didn't they just add colors now?
no, that's not going to make it better.
No. The thing needs like a different redesign for sure.
Yeah, it's bad.
In the world
It is-
where systems are getting smaller and compact, they're like, we're going to go giant on this one. That's what I'm feeling.
I like how there was those articles this week. Everybody's getting all excited. They're like, and finally, PlayStation's going to have a Microsoft Game Pass competitor. I'm like, you guys realize like PlayStation Now has existed for
They've always
7
had-
years and nobody's given a shit. Like they've competed and lost already. Like, I don't know what they're going to do that's possibly going to bring people back in. Like this is, so I was talking about this at work too, with my boss who's a big Xbox guy. And like, this is the year that if you like video games, I don't know how you didn't get Game Pass. Like Game Pass brought you all the best games that came out that were available on day and date launch. And it's the same price as you're pissing away on Netflix. Like it's absurd the amount of quality games and the amount of options that Game Pass now presents. And it's like pretty much solidified like Xbox to me. And I don't mean Xbox by machines. I mean like what Microsoft is doing in terms of that platform. Like I don't care what I'm playing it on. You know, it can be the xCloud on my iPhone for all I give a shit, but like holy crap, Game Pass is killing it. And the game's coming out tomorrow. I was already telling Nate, it was like dedicate 4 hours, install Firewatch, do it all in one shot. Like you'll never forget it. And that's one of like a dozen games coming tomorrow.
Yeah. It's so amazing that it's the way to go, and nobody's caught on, you know, where the Switch, they don't have anything.
No.
They're a mess. Actually, there was a whole bunch of OLEDs just piled up at Best Buy. So
I finally saw them at Target.
Those aren't flying off the shelf anytime soon. So
it's completely changed the way I look at buying games. If I think that there's even a 70% chance that in the next year the thing I'm interested in is going to be on Game Pass, I don't buy it.
Yeah. And the PlayStation, even on the PlayStation side of things, outside of now, on just PlayStation Plus, the games that they're releasing on that aren't that great and garbage. Actually, I can't remember what game was just released on PlayStation Plus, but like people are pissed just because there's...
Well, but those are like free games. So, I mean, Microsoft does that too with Gold. I mean, you can download free games with Gold each month. I mean, outside of Game Pass, but...
Sure, but for the price point, though, for PlayStation Plus, you know, what is that? That's $50 or $60?
$64 for the whole year. So it is cheaper than Game Pass.
Is it? Okay, yeah.
Because Game Pass is like $16 a month. Is that
unless
like,
you pay for $1?
Right. Yeah. I'm still on my 3 years for $1. So yeah, it's pretty good.
I mean, even if PlayStation does do like some sort of competitor, first they're going to raise the price.
Yeah.
On top of Plus, it's not going to be the same price, and then, you know, like Horizon isn't going to come out the first day. And there's no way that they're going to do that, you know?
And PlayStation's notorious for being terrible about supporting things, right? Like they'll do a big press release and they'll just like, even now, PlayStation Now, and like that's been dying and struggling since the PlayStation 3.
I just don't hear anybody talking about it anymore.
No, I've heard it's gotten a lot better.
It's all Xbox, yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is for me too, is like, all right, I already have a PC and my Game Pass is on PC. I don't even need an Xbox to experience a lot of these games. And now PlayStation's saying, well, like, it's going to be a priority for us to port all of our first party, like exclusive games to PC. So as somebody with the means to
a year later, but still.
Yeah, but I mean, exactly. But I could be sitting there as like somebody with a good gaming PC. I can be like, I don't need a PlayStation anymore because I'll get Forbidden West on my PC in another year. Like, and if you're the type of person who I am for the most part, where I don't care about buying a game on launch, that's totally fine. You know, I don't know. PlayStation's in a very underdog spot. And I know the sales numbers don't prove that, but man, in my mind, they almost sit in third place, like firmly. Because I'm going to go to Xbox. I'm going to play the games I want on my Switch, which is not a lot right now. But I don't, my PlayStation 4 used to be like my daily machine. I don't turn that on like at all anymore.
Yep. I'm the same way. I mean, it's crazy to think like how the Xbox One launched and all that stuff. And then how Game Pass basically been like, none of us needed a new console yet, but I went and bought one just because of Game Pass. It's like,
right. If anything, Game Pass has made my Xbox One purchase slightly relevant because I bought no games for that thing over the last 5 years. But now with Game Pass, I'm like, it's convenient. I can install stuff.
Yeah.
I can hook up an external drive. It's ready to go, you know?
And even on some of those bigger games that were made for, you know, Series SX, where you can do xCloud through your Xbox One for most of them, like that's pretty impressive. You can do Lawnmower Simulator, no problem.
I mean, you're probably not sniping people in Halo Infinite, but yes, I agree. You can do most games pretty well.
Yeah.
It's
impressive.
I like it. I like the platform they've built.
Well,
hopefully it continues. You
like
know,
the games that you play too, right? Like,
yeah,
I finished Unpacking, which is a game I would never have bought, would never even looked at twice, you know. But it was just something that was on the thing, and I knew it was short, so let's just try it out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I've heard that before.
In length, short in length or time.
Giggity.
Yeah, I am very sucked back into the Xbox ecosystem because I don't game like I used to, and for the amount I do, I think I'll just keep Game Pass going, and I'll probably stop buying stuff.
Well, here's my issue with your whole Xbox adventure.
Huh?
You're still not set up properly.
Okay.
So when I'm trying to play, hold on, just zip it. Let me talk for a bit here.
You don't have anything to add, Biff.
I don't. But we're trying to play Halo Infinite, and we have no communication whatsoever.
Well, we did. It was just my fault that it was set up.
And then he's so lazy that he keeps his microphone clear across his basement, and he's screaming from his couch to the microphone.
It has nothing to do with lazy. So here's what happened. I installed Halo Infinite, as I explained, on my PC because I wanted it to perform better than it would on my One. And then I happened to find a 50-foot HDMI cable the same day at Walmart. So I was like, you know what? Why sit in my game room with a 32-inch? I could have my 4K HDR hooked up and sit on my couch and use my Bluetooth controller for my PC. So that's what we did. But then I wanted to play multiplayer with Biff. And I was like, shit, that's right. Like, you can't just like that. Like, I have my whole microphone set up for recording. So like my podcast mic is my chat mic, you know? And I'm like, well, I'm now 25 feet away playing on the couch. My PC's in my game room. So we didn't have chat for a while. And then I came up with the brilliant idea to just turn the gain all the way up. And then, and then I turned the mic 90 degrees and I just sat at the edge of the couch and like screamed back and forth at Biff, which worked just fine.
I'm like, this is a great game. And you're like, yeah, it's so good.
You heard me just fine. Yes.
The cat's licking itself upstairs.
It was mostly my laziness of not wanting to get off the couch and like just sit in my game room.
Someone throwing down a number 2 upstairs. I hear it.
It worked out. We played for a couple hours and had fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Next time I'll play my actual game room so you can actually chat with me. But we should try to all get in there and do like a party one night. And I should just install on my Xbox One because partying.
Yeah, you should.
Partying from PC Game Pass to console stuff is not always as intuitive as it should be.
Just do it.
Yeah, but then I get the shittier version of the game.
It doesn't matter. It's not going to help you play any better, any worse.
Okay, you got a point, but yeah, until I get a series.
Don't be one of those PC snobs that are like,
I'm better than you. Just accept it.
The frame rate is 0.102 less.
I already said the frame rate sucked. But it does look really good on PC. It's just, screen tearing and dropping frames.
There's so much tearing in there.
If I took a screenshot at the right time, you'd be very impressed. I'll say that.
You just have to get like a 50-foot USB cable for your microphone. Bring it over.
Yeah, well, that's what I tried to do. I was like, how much reach do I have with this? And like, I'm sure there's a way that I could have like gone into my settings and like changed although I don't know. I don't know for sure if a paired Xbox controller through Xbox Game Pass PC just works plug and play like that. It probably does. Somebody smarter than me probably know. I'm not going to find out. I'm going to use my Yeti mic, and
we can reach out to our emails and see, like, hey, if you guys, listeners, if you know, send us that email. We need to know.
If you're smarter than me, which you all should be, just let me know how that works. So
don't discount yourself, Ryan.
But yeah, I very much enjoyed it, and if Biff, if you want to get educated on Halo, I'm more than willing to jump into Master Chief and play through those games with you because
heck yeah,
it's fun. I waited, and it's great because I waited with my son until about after the flood in that final act to like really get him into like team killing, because like I'd been nice and not done it, but then like as we were making that final push to escape, I would just like run up behind him in every hallway and like whoop, like melee in the back of the head and dead, and I just run off, and he'd get so pissed, and then he'd come back and I turn around like whoop, like melee dead again. He's like, Dad. I'm like, what? Part of the game. It's part of the game, son.
I got teabagged, so that was the first time.
Okay, here's the best part.
Probably should get context on that, right?
Here's the best part is Biff missed out on this whole era of gaming when Halo originally came out. So he was like, yeah, I died and it's there's this guy and he's like squatting up and down on my head. I was like, that's called teabagging. He's dunking his nuts into your face.
I had no idea.
It was so priceless.
I was like, why is this? I think it's glitching. Why is this guy doing it? That looks funny.
He's squatting up and down. This is perplexing. Yeah, it was a pretty good moment.
It really is all back, huh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But you played. I will say you played remarkably well for not knowing the controls, how the game worked, or any of the objectives. I mean, you struggled a little bit in like oddball or whatever, and you're like, ball, where's this damn ball? What do we do with the ball?
I was looking everywhere. I couldn't figure it out. Yeah, it cracked me up.
It was fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I like how, there's a game that you like. I don't love it because I don't know it. And you're like, hey, I'll play this game with you. And so when I bring up the F word being Fortnite, and I'm like, hey, let's just jump in a couple of matches. You're like, no, not interested.
I didn't.
Which is so hurtful.
I was like,
But
LOL,
anyways.
the F word. I don't know. Because you texted me. You're like, you and your son should join us. I'm like,
In gaming news, though, not for those Fortnite listeners, a new season of Fortnite came out.
What happened?
I believe it was season 3.
That's
season
right.
3. And it's they changed the entire map, and it's kind of a big deal. There's quite a few players on. I think it kind of gave it a boost again. It was kind of dying down a little bit, or I felt like a lot of people weren't really talking about it, and yeah, it kicked back up, and it is very sweaty, and Spider-Man is in there, and we'll see what other kind of Marvel people enter. But that's my son was. It's just, again, I've talked about this before. It's that Christmas effect where like something big's gonna happen and you don't sleep. That's literally him. Where he was like, I gotta see what's happening. I gotta see what's going on. And then they actually shut down Fortnite completely, and it just had
Lord.
I know. And then they had Jonesy just kind of floating in this ocean.
Who's Jonesy?
He's kind of like their main character guy.
The blonde guy?
He's like the basic guy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the basic guy. So he's floating in this ocean, and that was it. And Liam's like walking around like, dude, this is broken. Like, it's not loading every time I exit out. I was like, I have no idea what to tell you. He decided, I'm just going to leave it on. Maybe something's going to happen. And so he was just like roaming around. A few hours went by, and he was just roaming around in the basement living room, and he just happened to walk by, and the screen all of a sudden switched. And he just lost his mind. He's like, oh my gosh, it's happening. I'm like, all right, buddy, you're coming across as a little nerdy. Let's bring it in. But whole bunch of new guns, whole bunch of new characters, new map. I've kind of been enjoying it. It's been fun to get back in. And when you start fresh all over, you don't have all of that XP. You play a lot of bots. So I felt really good for a long time. I was like, man, I got 12 wins in a row. I'm killing this. And then all of a sudden you get to that certain point of like experience level 15. And then people start fighting back, which is a little interesting.
Yeah, I kind of wondered about that too when my son was like proclaiming all his victories the other night too. I was like, oh, you won, huh? He's like, yep. I'm like, oh, Yeah.
All right.
Drews against people. Drews against people. I will say I've watched a little bit of him in that Spider-Man thing. It seems a little OP with like traversing the map. Kind of really move fast with the spiderweb stuff.
I don't know what OP stands for.
Overpowered. Ocean Pacific. No.
Oh, Ocean Pacific. I thought we're still talking about our sponsors.
Yeah.
Oops. Yeah, I've never tried it. It confuses me. I'm a pretty classic player where I'm like, this is the gun and I'm going to go chase people. You know, my son is into like, okay, there's all these mythic things that I'm going to grab and then we're going to see how it goes. And he's always trying to get me like, Dad, put the Spider-Man slingers on or whatever you call them. Are they slingers? You call them web shooters? Web shooters, not slingers.
I'm gonna start calling
dirty.
Nothing. I cut myself off. I censored myself. Sorry. Continue.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. But everyone does appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. So back to the beginning of this whole rant that I'm playing games that you want to play. It's time to play games.
Well, to be fair, you obliged because I turned another year older, so that was very nice of you. So
I'd do it again.
Yeah,
you're like 40 now. That's
no,
amazing.
You told me I was 40 the other day, and I'm not 40.
Just messing with
son of a bitch.
I mean, you're on your way now. So
so I'm in my last year of 30s. So you're not wrong. So next year, when I don't want to hear from anybody when it's my birthday, I just want to like curl up in a fetal position in the garage on the floor.
You already
and cry.
seemed like you were in a dark place. You were like, yeah, I don't want to do anything. I have no ambition.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I mean, we're still in a pandemic, so it's like, you know,
also
what are your options? I was super tired too. So when we changed our plans from like going outside to like sitting on the couch, I was like, yay, that's good.
It's good.
Yeah. So I think we've danced around like both of Andy's topics. Like we've sort of touched on the Game Awards and also kind of talked about arcade one-ups, which you've been modding. So which lane do we go down first?
Oh, I get to pick. Okay, sure. Let's start with my arcade cabinet.
Okay, good.
That I kind of talked about last week that I was going to go down the path of changing it, converting it over to a Raspberry Pi kit.
To the dark side, yep.
Yeah. So I did that. I got the original LCD board that I bought, didn't work, and it almost broke the LCD. And it completely made it white. And I figured out how to reset it back to normal. So that was bad. And it looked like it was burnt in.
Yeah, that would not be good.
But it ended up going LCDs, I guess, go away after a couple hours of playing. So it seemed like it didn't have any effect to it. So
okay,
found a different board, and that one ended up working perfect. So I get it all set up, and what I didn't end up doing is I didn't drill any more holes.
Okay.
I figured I can get 4 buttons, 4 main buttons, and then like a couple I can just like throw out the side for like start and select and coin and shit like that.
So like you've been hanging out like little extra controllers.
Yeah,
okay.
Just little, they're like dongle buttons.
Cool. Nice. I like it.
But yeah, it's pretty slick. Now it's just finding the right, Pi image, I guess, for a cocktail system. 'Cause the one I got works pretty good, but it's not a lot of arcade stuff.
Okay.
It's a lot of like Super Nintendo and Genesis ROMs that play in 2-player, which are awesome that way because you're playing basically 2-player head to head.
Right.
So that works really good. It's just like I kind of want more of the arcade stuff too. But
yeah, for sure. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
So far a success.
Yeah.
And how much are you invested into it with the Pi included?
Oh man, Pi is probably what, $50-$60. This was one I had sitting around, and the board and buttons were maybe 50
together. Then you've just disclosed that you only paid $100 with free shipping for the whole thing to begin with. So
Right.
You're already well under the 700 for Simpsons.
Oh yeah, I'm
arcade
like
cabinet.
200.
Which cocktail table did you get?
It's Pac-Man.
Okay.
Which is funny because I don't think people realize like how many cocktail tables they've done, because you just do not see them in retail space. Like Best Buy had them like a year ago, and that's the last time I've ever seen one.
Yeah, and this one was only sold in Best Buy, I believe.
Okay.
So it was like their exclusive one. But yeah, they've made a lot of other ones, and I don't know who sells them. If it's
There's
just
a Street Fighter one, and
yeah.
I mean, even if you go on to the Arcade 1-Up website, just a lot of the releases I've never seen, and a lot of them, I see a lot of just the same cabs, the Turtles, the Jams, and Golden Tee, those kind of basic ones. So you almost have to go on. Every time I've gone onto the website, it's like, oh, I didn't know they did that cab, or I've never seen that one before.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah. There's a lot of them out there. Hopefully, well, sadly, I mean, I'd love to say we'll go back to the days where we're finding those things for $50 again, but I think retailers know better at this point.
My Walmart stopped carrying them, so
that's probably a good call.
There's not even there's none around anymore.
Did they have an announcement at the Game Awards?
I don't think so. No. Did you guys watch that or?
I didn't even get excited. I feel like they were onto something for a while with the Game Awards, but then what the Game Awards have become the last like 3 years, that's not for me anymore. Like I did what I think most people should do, and you just go to IGN, and it's every Game Awards reveal in 8 minutes. I'm like, perfect. This is what I want. Without Bic Man telling me to buy Bic razors. Or Green Day playing whatever shitty song they had come out this year.
Yeah. Well, it was Sting this year, and he was awful. Yeah. It was just him out there singing.
Sting?
Yeah.
That's a real, that's a random deep cut there.
It was a tough year for Sting. He can't tour because of the pandemic. He really needed that Game Awards money.
Right. Not the Police, just Sting.
Just Sting. They couldn't afford the whole thing. So.
Yeah. We're on a budget.
And it was like right at the beginning too. So just get Sting out here. Yeah, it was, it wasn't quite as bad as like those big years and all that, but there was a lot of commercials, and it's like 3 hours long. So it's a lot to go through, especially if there's stuff that's not, all that you're into. It's I don't know.
Who took Game of the Year, and what was it?
It was It Takes Two, which
is
really surprising. Yeah.
God, I don't know if I can get behind that.
So that's what I thought too. But like, there must be something that, most people didn't see right away. But I mean, it's your guy. It's the guy that made Brothers.
Yeah, he made Brothers, and then he made 2 other games that I haven't given a crap about. I don't know. Like that A Way Out was like the most disappointing pile of crap. Yeah, I guess. Sure. I'm happy that he got it because Brothers is like one of my favorite experiences, but yeah, it's surprising. I would have figured like you can't give a nod to like Dread or something. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, there was, I
didn't see any reveals that I thought were great. Like I think the thing that I walked away the most excited about was just that Sonic 2 movie trailer, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, the Sonic 2 movie trailer with Knuckles.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Yep. I'm actually, and Jim Carrey actually looks like Robotnik.
I like how his sidekick too is like, oh, he's back, and he's like a barista at Starbucks.
Yeah. Trying to think of some of the other things. The Sonic Frontiers, which looks like kind of like an open world, almost like.
Ah, boy, that gave me some
Sonic.
Ooh, I got some strong 06 vibes on that. I'm just gonna say, I didn't see a human being, but I'm waiting for them to be in that game.
Yeah, probably because everything looked a little bit more realistic than he does. That's kind of
too realistic. But yeah, I did like the fact that they possibly made it seem like it would be a 3D open world Sonic. Yeah, I just don't know how that plays out. Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
DLC for Cuphead, I saw.
Yep.
That's way late after that game came out. So sort of surprising.
Yeah.
Talk about a game that's surprising that's never been to Game Pass or anything. That's that's the reason I never bought it, because I was like, oh, it's Microsoft. It's going to be in Game Pass.
That is weird, right?
Never happened.
There seemed to be a lot of buzz over that Suicide Squad game, but all I saw was that all I kept thinking was this is just that launch title from the Xbox One, Sunset Overdrive. It was just Sunset Overdrive with the Suicide Squad. Like, I don't.
Plus, it's like, a group of guys, so it's going to be like a squad based or something like that, or
Yeah, it looked dumb and fun, but like not exciting to me.
Not the type of excitement from the next game of the Arkham Batman people,
Right.
The Star Wars one looked okay, but I don't even know what that game is. Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest shocker, right? There was the Matrix thing. Was that just part of the movie though, not a game, or was there? I didn't pay enough attention.
Yeah, so I did download that.
Okay, it's like a demo.
I played. Yeah, I did play through that, and holy crap, like that is the next step of the next generation stuff. It is kind of bananas.
Like lighting effects, like human modeling.
Yeah, human modeling. Like, it shows the beginning of the movie, and it kind of has Keanu talking here and there, and it's like it has that look that you can tell they're not real. I don't know if it's like something to do with like even like in the Star Wars movies when they were faking all those people, like Carrie Fisher and shit like that, where it's like you can kind of tell that they're
like the deep
rubbery.
fake.
Yeah. But it's there. I mean, it's that close. And then it dumps you kind of into an action sequences, which is pretty cool. And there's a lot of lighting and particle effects. And then after that, they dump you into the world, and you can just walk around and drive cars. And then it's just like float around the world and look around. And God, it's like every building, it's a huge city. Every building is like completely different, and it looks like completely modeled like a real building would.
Do you think that's just for show in the demo though? Do you think the full product can turn out to be that polished?
Oh, it's definitely a tech demo of some sort, because even like when you're done with the thing, it's talking about like, these are all the cars that are running independently of each other. And you can even like toggle to see how many like cars are running on the AI, like the AI and stuff.
Interesting.
But even if you go up to like the buildings, every window has stuff inside. Like the room was actually somewhat generated. It's impressive. The physics and as a game, it's not very good. There's some weird stuff in there, but the look of the thing and like just the pure breadth of the whole thing if that's what games are going to be in the next 5 years, it's definitely a big step up over last gen.
Nice. I like how Biff has transitioned into like a luchador over there. Used to be a blanket wrapped around him. Now it's like a frilly cape.
It's my cape.
Yeah.
Nacho Libre style.
Yeah, I guess I didn't feel like I missed out a lot in not watching the Game Awards. The takeaways I saw were all right. I didn't see any it didn't even seem like Twitter and social media blew up that much. Alan Wake was maybe the thing I saw the most people freaking out about, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the biggest night in games, according to Jeff Keighley.
Yeah, the Matrix thing was like the ender. So it's like when you end the Game Awards on a
movie
tech demo, because I don't think that's going to be a real game. I think that's just what it is. But
viral marketing to promote the new film.
Yeah. I mean, they even talk about it in there that like it's Keanu as Neo, and he's talking about the marketing department.
It's John as Neo, played by Keanu.
Yeah.
So I watched a thing too. Anybody else sit through that Get Back documentary on
I
Disney
sat
Plus?
through all of it.
Did you really?
Ooh, yes.
I did too.
oh,
Peter Jackson is not the right person to take copious amounts of footage and edit them down into digestible bits.
my
I
gosh.
think we've learned that after the fucking Hobbit movies. Why did they give that man access to 90 hours of footage? And how come it couldn't have been like 20 episodes of 45 minutes each? Every block, there was 3 blocks and they were 3 hours each.
I thought it was just a movie. So I thought it was promoted as a movie.
It looks
so
very
I sat
good.
down and I was like, okay, yeah, here we go. It's probably a little long movie, and I'm watching it, and then it said like end of episode 1. And I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
There's more? And I was like, man, this story isn't progressing fast enough if they got to get to the concert at the end or the live performance. I was like, oh no, there's 2 more of this. So there was a couple of times I just fast forward some of the
or you could do something else and just let it play in the background.
Right.
It's all incredibly interesting to see at closed doors, like the dynamic of like how the Beatles wrote music, how they interacted with each other. But like, you need to break that thing up on your own and not just sit through, like, do not sit through each of the 3 segments in one sitting. It is not the way to do that at all.
I think it was so... Yeah, it was very interesting. It almost came across as, well, it came across 2 ways. One,
Paul's a
you
dick.
weren't supposed to watch it. Like, it just wasn't, you felt like you were just watching people.
Yeah.
And so that kind of felt weird. But then also, like, it came across as like, this isn't real, or this is fake. And even it is. But you're sitting down and you're watching like
it's reality TV.
Paul McCartney, writing like one of the biggest hits that they had, and just sitting there, and like he's messing around with the guitar, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I know that song. Like I know what he's like, I kind of like this.
Like hear them watch like Get Back, or like come up with like Get Back and like some of those songs. Like, this is how you made that. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, just like chilling and hanging out.
The other 2 are just like staring at him like hungover or something.
Well, it's kind of funny. So like one of the things I noticed was like, you know, the rumors were always like Paul hated Yoko, right? Like that was a huge sticking point. And like, I'm sure there was, but like in those 9 hours, and like Peter Jackson like sets out in the beginning, like I've made every effort to portray the interactions in the way they did and not propaganda, like do like storylines and like cut things out of context. Like they seemed to not only tolerate each other very well, but in all reality get along. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, like you definitely realize that like Ringo is the luckiest fucking drummer on the planet, because it's just like 9 hours of like them shooting to Ringo, who's just sitting there like this all the time.
Like, whatever you need, I'll just play it. He's a great drummer, but yeah,
he's a lucky drummer. He contributed nothing to the songwriting for the most part.
Oh no, not at all. But he's a solid drummer. But
yeah, you could tell
he just sat there and waited for them to like, okay, do this, and he's like, okay, sounds good.
In that era of the Beatles, you could definitely tell it was like Paul like running the show. Like it was like, you know, Paul's the star, Paul's the one that, you know, and like John was there contributing too, and like, but John was just there like take it or leave it. Like you could tell he didn't care, right? I mean, he obviously loved music, but he wasn't there to like. Wasn't his thing. I mean, I don't know. It was so cool. And just the amount of cigarettes those guys smoked. Holy shit.
Gosh. They were a chimney. All of them. Everybody. I thought one of the most interesting things that I wanted to research, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I'd have to go actually back and watch a little bit of it. But George Harrison in the first episode, pretty much at the beginning, he had his like posse of like these.
He's big into the monk stuff. It was like the Hare Krishna people. Like,
oh yeah, it was so weird. And this guy's just like sitting like cross-legged, just sitting there and
you got to keep in mind that was like after their like weird trip to India, like the Yellow Submarine, like LSD phase. Right. So I think George like really hung on to that from the looks of it.
Super weird. And Yeah, I was like, I want to know like who this guy is and why he's just sitting there and some of those details at the very. I think what was most interesting at the very end when they're doing their live performance, if you haven't seen it, close your ears for a second. But the Bobby, the cop, that teenage cop, and there was an article that I mean, he's in his like 70s now, and he was like, yeah, I didn't really care for the Beatles. I was more of a Simon and Garfunkel fan. And he's like, I was just doing my job. I don't regret anything I did. But he's like, I didn't know it would have been their last ever performance together.
Right.
And but just seeing this guy like, just shut it down. Please shut it down. And he has zero authority. They're like, yeah, we'll go get them.
Yeah,
and
and there's like
nobody's
camera
going
the
to
whole
get
time. I like too how they wear that stupid helmet with that strap across their face, and both the cops are just like sucking on the strap, like the chin strap that doesn't go under your chin for some reason.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part was that
nothing.
My favorite part was that first act where like right at the end George quits, and it's just like, because you see him, someone brings, like, his assistant comes over and brings him his like diary, and George just writes like, it shows the notes for the day. It's like, went to blah 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 some tavern, came back from lunch, quit the Beatles, and then like he left his thing, and like that was the journal entry for that day.
Jeez.
And then I liked too, like, because George Harrison's still alive, right?
No, he's dead.
Is he dead? Okay, I was gonna say, because I wonder what it would be like for him to see that footage where like he leaves the Beatles and Paul and John are just like, ha ha ha, ha. Well, if he comes back, he comes back. Like, we'll get Clapton. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. Like, just
it's kind of rude.
Was Eric Clapton was a good friend of George Harrison's. And so, I mean,
it was funny.
Yeah, that just cracks me up.
Yeah, they didn't care at all.
He'll come back, or we'll yeah.
Or we'll
you kind of wonder, like, if you saw that happen, how many times did they break up?
Oh, for sure.
Like, unofficially, where he's like, I'm done. Okay, I'm back.
You could kind of tell with the dynamic that, like, John at least cared a little bit, but like Paul was just like, nah, like we don't. I mean, he was pretty much the reason why George walked out through that thing too, because he's just like, try playing it a different way, or like maybe when I'm doing this, you don't do that.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, yeah, I guess I'd be pissed too if like I was in this big band and like I was just like told what to do,
and they're all good musicians. That's the thing. Like,
yeah,
you know, John Lennon isn't known for his guitar playing, but he's a solid guitar player, and as is even Ringo Starr can play in a lot of different instruments, and so they're really good at it. And so it just cracks me up that this guy who's really good is like, yeah, don't do that. And that guy who's really good is like, no, I'm going to do that. And it's just this friction back and forth.
It's like those interviews with Grohl too, where they're like, did you ever bring up these ideas to, he's like, no. He's like, well, didn't you feel a little bit like George Harrison? He's like, yeah, but George was in a band with Paul and John. Like, they didn't need his ideas. I was in a band with Kurt Cobain. Like, I just get my ideas to myself. And it's kind of like the same thing. And I think there's that comment too in that first one where like one of Harrison's songs are like rehearsing, like him and Ringo are playing it. And then like John just walks in, like, cause it seemed like John Lennon walked in most of the time, like by midday, like he was never on time or anything. And he's like, he's like, oh, this one sounds like a Harrison, simple and to the point. I'm like, oh God, like you've been there 5 minutes.
They were not kind.
No,
that's for sure.
But they all contributed like good songs to that record for sure. Like, yeah, it was cool.
I didn't realize how many bangers were on that.
Like all of them, yeah.
On that, yeah. It's just like, oh, that was like a big one. That was a big hit.
I'd never pieced it together either. And then after watching that, I went back and listened through like Let It Be and then Abbey Road, and I was like, oh, like all their like great songs. I mean, yeah, the classic era is fine too, but like that's not the stuff I really like about the Beatles. So
right. It was impressive. It was really impressive.
And they remastered it so well. Like, you'd never know that. I mean, obviously, they must have shot that on, like, the best equipment of the time, because, like, it really remastered up great. But, yeah. I mean, they all came off, like, genuine friends and people who liked what they were doing for the most part, minus some spats here and there.
You know, they were about 30 years old when that happened.
Okay.
And they've been playing together since they're, like, 13, 14 years old, which is just crazy.
Did you not find that weird though, too? Because I did the same thing. I looked up their ages for what they were at that time, and they looked like people had harder lives back then because they all look like they're probably like 40. And it's like they're in the beginning of their 30s. And it's like, I suppose you're smoking cigarettes like crazy.
Oh, they
like,
are. And so much drugs.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It was cool.
Yeah. I do you think I should just skip the wife? You know, I tried to talk her into it. She was kind of interested, and then she saw the
you
guys will fall asleep
first thing,
many times.
Like, we started it together, and then she was kind of mad because I just after the first 2 hours we stopped, and I just went back and finished it all without my wife, and I was like,
okay,
I think Mo could skip pretty much all of it, but just make sure you watch like the last 90 minutes because like that's kind of where it all comes together, and that performance is amazing, and like God, that's the thing, like. You watch that and like you listen to those tracks and realize that they recorded them all live. Like bands don't do that anymore. Bands don't get together and kill a song. Like people aren't musicians like that anymore. Like nobody's got the musicianship to just like harmonize. Right. It's so impressive. Like God, music today is so fake.
It's one dimensional.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny that, I mean, you listen to like Ringo Starr's Time and he didn't waver. He just locked in. And I mean, I play a lot professionally, and I have to have a click track going in my ear all the time. And you just feel super robotic. And I was like, man, how freeing would it be to have perfect time?
Yeah.
And just play how you want to play.
And that dude they brought in to do like the electric piano, like backing. To just watch somebody like jump in, like first time hearing it, like I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how do people do that? It's awesome.
And they're like conversation of, we should probably pay him studio rates, right?
Right?
Like, do we pay him
or do we screw him? Are we on camera? Can we cut this? Can we cut this?
Yeah. They're like, what do we do? And because they're just friends, but then they're like, well, what he actually played was really good. So how much do we pay him?
Yeah, that was pretty great.
Yeah.
Like the joke too, where they're like listening to their recordings back and they're like, yeah, we had to argue with EMI because we said we wanted 4 speakers for playback. Like, but you only have 2 ears.
Yeah. They're witty. They're witty people. They're just super, super weird.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'll probably,
that is the most Beatles we've ever talked about on this podcast.
I think it's like one of those unspoken things though, like where everybody genuinely loves the Beatles, right? Like there's something wrong with you if you don't.
Yeah. I mean, there's some songs I just don't care for, some of the early stuff. But that
weird stuff is weird, but
the Let It Be. And I mean, those are like, man, those are just so good.
Those are all good.
And they're like lack of, I mean, they've been to the United States and toured the United States, but their lack of knowledge. And so when they're writing Get Back and they're like, well, what's the most American name? And they're like, Joe. And they're trying to figure out, he's from Arizona. Tucson, that's in Arizona, right?
And then, Paul's like, yeah, it's from like
to,
some wine or something. I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah, it's just their lack of like, I don't know, but it sounds pretty American to me. So
and they just write it. Wow.
Yeah.
So who do you think wins the battle royale of the Beatles? Is it Ringo or Paul? Does he?
I stand by that. Ringo is just like, they could have any drummer in the Beatles and it wouldn't matter, to be quite honest.
Well, I just mean, do you think he's going to be the last one standing?
Oh, sure. Yeah, probably, because he's a drummer, right? Like, he hasn't had to do any, like, he's not.
Did you guys ever watch Ringo Starr in
that train show?
Thomas the Train?
Yes, of course. Because he replaced replaced George Carlin.
That's like all I can just think of when I see Ringo Starr.
George Carlin was the conductor before Ringo. Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yep. Yeah, wow. that was my first like awareness of, because I think my mom mentioned it. Like, that's Ringo. I'm like, who the hell is Ringo Starr? Because I'm like 4. Yeah. Like, he's a Beatle. What's a Beatle? He's a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom was very quick to show me too. She was like, no, he was the drummer. And it's so weird that like Paul and Ringo still alive.
Well, goes around kicking around.
I mean, she's
John would be around
terrorizing the world.
But
right. That's all.
Yeah.
Love it.
Good stuff.
The Beatles.
Well, I think we should, well, because we're not getting back to the Smash thing today. Andy's playlist got stricken from YouTube. Copyright.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we were suspecting copyright involvement. No surprise. I thought, since this is technically, I think this will come up right before, is this Christmas Eve? This would technically go live about.
Yeah.
So this will be our last published episode of 2021. I thought, since all of us are posers, don't game anymore, and have nothing to do with gaming, that we should do predictions for 2022. Because what are some thoughts? What are we looking forward to? Games, consoles, news
shit.
that might come out. I'm gonna make a prediction right off the bat. I think we will get a release date for Breath of the Wild 2, and it will be in 2023. And that will happen next year. The news will come out for that.
And that might not release in 2023. It's just they'll have a date for 2023.
Right, correct. And they'll kick the can 2 more times.
And it's going to be released on the Switch U.
100%.
I would say that's pretty accurate. I think we'll see it. Yeah.
The date or the release?
Both of it. No, we'll not see the release in our time.
I don't think we'll see it next year, is my gut.
Yeah. It's so hard to tell. I mean, if they're basing it off a lot of the stuff from the last one, you wouldn't think it would be much more than story and mapping and shit like that. But who knows?
Yeah.
You wouldn't think it would take that long. I mean,
you know what Nintendo's going to do?
I'm just sick of having hope.
You love Breath of the Wild. You love it. And then Nintendo's like, oh, you really love that game? We're going to make a sequel, but it's not even going to be like that game.
Majora's Mask us?
Just like Castlevania 2 or what, where it's like, oh, you like that? No, we're going to add this thing that everyone hates. And that's how we operate.
Well, it has a 2 in it, so we have to make it side-scrolling.
It's side-scroll.
There's going to be this cave section you have to go through. It's going to be a real bitch.
But Ryan's still going to love it.
Ryan's going to get out before it gets bad.
Greatest game ever.
I still appreciate it.
Oh, man. I predict in 2022.
That's what we're doing.
That we... What?
Yep. Go ahead. Sorry.
That we'll see some PlayStation 5s by fourth quarter.
On shelves. Walking in, not arm wrestling somebody, like they're there.
Right. Fourth quarter.
Oof. Well, that's a ballsy one.
That would suck. Yeah, PS5's been out 3 years and still.
It's the number one console that nobody's ever seen. At this point, we might as well just be selling people Sasquatch because it's about the same.
Are these things NFTs?
Yeah.
I was trying to think if there'd be any hardware, and maybe the Switch or the Steam thing is going to come out, but other than that, I don't know if there's going to be any really major hardware next year.
Amico.
That's never
Major
coming out. Come on. Not vaporware. We can't get through we can't get through 2 episodes without somebody bringing up the Amico. This is a problem.
It's coming out in 2022, fourth quarter, along with the PS5.
Yeah. Trying to think of what would be a really big surprise of a game, but
Red Dead Redemption 3.
Nope.
Will be announced.
Nope.
It will be.
Maybe Grand Theft Auto 6
on the Amico.
I don't think so. What are we doing?
You said what? What was gonna
GTA 6? You thought maybe?
Oh, GT.
I still don't think so. They're pouring so much into this next gen relaunch.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
It's been a while since Mario.
I know. I was thinking that too, but I don't think I can make that claim.
They were talking that a sequel was leaking.
The
But-
Odyssey or
Yeah,
just
I don't want that.
sure.
Can I?
the
Can I have a
greatest
sequel
3D
to
Mario ever.
No, Super Mario World 3D 2 needs to happen.
You.
2, yeah. 2, yes, I like it.
Super Mario 2. You. Love it.
If so, like all the worlds in in Odyssey are so
Stupid.
weird and different. Could they go to other franchises?
Well, they kind of are with
Could
Kirby,
Mario?
right? Or you mean Mario's going to go to other games?
Right? Could he go to
Oh,
Kirby
yeah,
World?
That would be good. That would be good.
I mean, why not? It's right there.
It's true.
That would be bizarre. And then
It's
he
Kingdom
has to
Hearts, this
defeat
shit.
their bosses.
Right? Yeah. And you can summon Kirby or something like. You wear him as a hat.
I like it.
Are we going to see anything on Smash in 2022?
No, they're ending support. That's the news we're
No,
getting.
they're going to sneak one out.
I want to I'm really tempted to try to get some PlayStation news, but PlayStation has jack shit coming, so it's I can't even predict.
Yeah, and they always go so far ahead. Be like, here's this next game that'll come out 2-3 years away.
10 years from now.
All right, I'll make one that's kind of far out there, but the Xbox Series S will be officially ceasing production by the end of next year. They'll still sell it
Whoa.
and sell through their supply chain, but they will no longer manufacture it after 2022. Guess is my guess.
I could see that.
But
Fourth
they'll
quarter,
have a revised model
$199.
of the X. They'll do an all digital version of the X that is cheaper.
Oh, yeah. At $199.
No, at probably $399. But that seems like a very Xbox move.
Predictable.
It'll at least be announced.
I could see them, revolving models every 3 years or something like that.
Yeah, because right, it doesn't matter at this point, right? They're just a Game Pass platform.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're going to change the name for the next one. It's just going to be called Xbox Game Pass.
We're gonna
That's the system.
all right. Nintendo side, we're gonna get a 2D side-scrolling sequel to the Princess Toadstool game.
What about Dread?
What about it?
Would we see a sequel to that?
Next year now. We might hear about 4.
Which I hope so. Oh
Good
my
one.
gosh. If there's not a sound of that next year, it's dead.
I'm going to make a big
Go
prediction.
for it.
This one's big on Nintendo's behalf.
Okay.
They are going to figure out party chat next year.
I mean, I want that to be right, but the odds are against you.
Nope, party chat is going to happen next year. No app needed. No phone needed.
And for games
It's gonna
outside
be
of Fortnite,
integrated.
you mean?
And yes, it's going to be integrated, and it's all good.
Gosh.
They're going to send an update, and we're ready to
I
go.
wish. I would love
You may need a dongle, but other than that, you'll be good.
I would love for that to be true.
It's going to happen third quarter.
Okay. I'm looking forward to that.
I'll say Game Boy, either micro hardware or on the online service.
Okay. I would like to see that.
Especially after the Pocket, if that really takes off. Nintendo's got to be seeing that and being like, oh, we could do something.
What about a mini?
How does that work?
60.
A
64?
micro? How about a micro?
I already have
A
the
micro. It's actually bigger than the original Game Boy. It's called a macro.
Not a prediction, but I really want Analog to actually release the Analog Duo next year. I was super sad that didn't actually go up for pre-order this year. So that's a bummer.
Are you enjoying your analog now?
It's staring at me from the floor in the box that's
Gosh,
shipped
that
in.
makes me so
Sitting
mad.
on top of it is my Switch in a case.
Let me just borrow
on
it
top
for a
of
while.
that is a Famicom, and then on top of that is a painting of Kirby Epic Yarn.
Let me just borrow
It's
that.
exactly where a boutique $500 NES belongs.
Oh my gosh.
Well, if you mix that with your unopened TurboGrafx Mini, you got pretty much the same thing.
I popped the seal on that and looked at it. It's technically
Okay.
open. Yeah, I have problems.
I have problems.
Any last predictions for anyone?
None of them have been serious.
No, they're all
really
terrible.
at this point.
I predict Ringo's going to die next year.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh.
Well, okay, I'll get in on that.
That just got
I'll
dark.
go McCartney.
Okay.
Whoa.
I don't know. He seems like pretty. I mean, he's still out there doing music and shit like that, right?
I'm going to say, oh no.
Okay.
Killed by McCartney.
Well, and as a
the
fourth,
Beatles Deadpool.
and as a fourth non-Beatle and preferable death, Donald Trump. That's where I really hope that goes. But for Beatles, I'm sticking with Paul. But a man can only dream so
Or
far.
Here's one that no one would ever get.
Okay.
But one of George Harrison's cronies that came with on the first episode, sitting cross-legged, he's gonna die.
How would we know?
And the world is gonna be like, oh my gosh, I was there sitting meditating during that time, high as a kite.
Funny.
I think he was in the Traveling Wilburys, wasn't he?
Oh man.
Well, those were some amazing predictions. Yeah, last episode of the year. For everyone who's listening to this, if you're listening to it when it comes out, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Get to
Yep.
it after. We hope you had a good time with family and friends. Happy New Year to everybody. Thanks for continuing to listen if you still do. Yeah, we appreciate it.
We do.
And now Biff.
Oh, that's my cue. So sorry. I was just reminiscing and pondering on the deep things that you were.
So deep. So
Sharing.
deep.
I've heard that. Anyways,
You've claimed that, or you've heard that?
Yeah, both. Oh man. Yeah, we appreciate you guys listening. Make sure you send us an email with some of your predictions for 22. We'd love to hear them and see how they compare to our awesome predictions. So make sure you're following us on all of our social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Is that social media? Kind of, I guess. Yeah. And you can find all things Weekend Rental at weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com. No, that's our email. But you can go to our website, weekendpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, guys. As always, be kind. Rewind.
I'm calling Ringo Bingo.
That was my Yoko.
Get back. Get back. Oh, no. Get back.